Hey, this is Tom Cavanaugh. Thanks for tuning in to Tomorrow's Legends.
In 2016, a new TV show hit the digital airwaves and needed a podcast dedicated to chronicling its adventures. An elite team has been assembled for this task. Unfortunately, the world's listeners have not heard of this wonder twin duo. And although they may not be known now, in the future they will be referred to as Tomorrow's Legends.
You know, Harley, this week's episode has me thinking.
Well, that's a bad start to the show.
No, seriously. If we went back in time far enough to see where you came from, see who your distant ancestors were, do you think they'd be as crazy as you? Do you think it's inherited genetics?
Okay, now you're treading on thin ice, buddy. Choose your next words very carefully.
Well, I'm also wondering if they fell for psychotic maniacs in their lifetime as well.
I have no idea how you're considered the fastest man alive, because you sure are slow to get when trouble is right above your head.
And now, here are your hosts, the Scarlet Speedster himself, the Flash, and the Maid of Mischief, Harley Quinn.
Hello, Legendaires! Welcome back to Tomorrow's Legends. We're here to cover Season 4, Episode 14, Nip Stuck, in our 75th episode of Tomorrow's Legends!
Yay!
I am the celebrating Flash.
And I'm also celebrating as Harley Quinn.
Yeah, woo! This is a milestone, Harley. 75.
It is a milestone that I figured out a little late, but we still figured it out before we pressed record, so good news.
Yes, that is fun. And it got me thinking, with Season 5 coming next year, are we going to be able to reach 100 episodes? Because we don't have 25 episode seasons, so I don't think we're going to get there.
Unless we do a lot of extra stuff to just make it to 100, we might have to just make it to 100 just to say we got there. But yeah, I was thinking, just doing the math myself, and that's why I was like, ooh, this is 75, and I don't know if we can make it to 100, so we better do something.
Yeah, either that or just pray for a season 6. We'll have to see.
We'll have to see. I don't know.
Well, let's get into this fantastic episode and have a little celebrating throughout it if we can. What were your impressions?
My impressions. All right. Well, I rated this one 7.5 bippity boppity boos. Is it just me? Or was this entire episode kind of an homage to Star Wars? I'm sometimes a little bit slow on some of the uptake, but I was pretty certain that's what was going on this episode.
Well, they did Indiana Jones last episode, so I guess they're just covering all of
the major players,
yeah.
I guess. Indeed, Star Wars. I don't know where else they're going to go. So I guess we'll see what the next couple of episodes hold. But Okay, good. So I picked up on that vibe. Woo! I can keep my nerd card.
Yay, you.
Yay. But really, I loved Matt Ryan. I really like him. I really want them to bring back Constantine, like his series Constantine, like on the DC universe. Yeah. That would be, I could really just watch him be this character forever. I just love what he does with it and how he plays it and his physicality of it. It's just, I love it. It's so great.
Well, you're going to get his cartoon that he is voicing, so that's at least a start.
I know. I've watched a few of them. I can't remember. I think he's done all of them, hasn't he?
I think so.
All of the animated ones. I watched a few of them. I'm not fully caught up on them, but yeah. So, well, I'm excited for the cartoon. At least I've got that. I forgot about that. I'm glad you reminded me. But anyway, okay. So on to this episode, if I could stay on track.
Yeah.
I kind of did struggle with this one at points. Not really because I thought it was bad, but there were a lot of inconsistencies that I saw. I've actually reintroduced the nitpick section. We're gonna do it in the beginning so that we get it all out of the way, so that we can just have fun with the rest of it. But there were several things that jumped out at me, so I kind of want to get that rolling and just get it out of the way. But it is an actual. It's making a return, guys. I'm sorry. But somewhere in the middle, it really did hit its stride, because about halfway through, I kind of just was watching it and just watching the story unfold and just kind of enjoying it. And it was good. I liked being along for the ride. Did not see that ending coming. I don't think anybody did. I don't know. But it was a little like, what?
So funny. Well, we'll get to that for sure. It's funny that I'm looking at you kind of hemming and hawing a little bit and not giving it as high a rating as usual. And this is maybe the second time this season I'm actually outrating you and more excited about the episode?
I think so. It seems to be a pattern lately. I am working on our rating spreadsheet. I would like you to know.
Oh yeah.
So it'll make an appearance.
That can be part of our season finale episode or something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, as a reminder, we didn't introduce ratings until a little over midway of season 1. Okay. So it's not like a perfect full comparison, but it's, for the most part, it's pretty much every episode.
Well, that's it. We got to go back and rewatch season 1.
Well, all right. I mean, we can definitely do that.
I actually want to, just because of the feelings I'm having about this season, up till the last 2 episodes anyway, that I've been a little let down by it. So, and comparing it to enjoying season 1 just for the time traveling and, those aspects of it that I'm missing this episode or this season. So, yeah, I want to see if it's as bad. I mean, it wasn't really bad. We started a podcast on it, but there was a lot of complaints about it, and it almost didn't get a second season. I don't know. I want to revisit it and see if the feelings are the same.
I would agree. I would like to revisit it too and see if Vandal Savage really was that bad when we've had some weird villains the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, and he really is the main complaint, which I think is warranted as not being the greatest villain there ever was on a TV show. But the show itself, take away from Vandal Savage, I mean, he did time travel, awesome storylines, awesome time periods they went to, and just establishing our show and our characters and who they are. And I mean, it had Captain Cold, and there's so much emotion wrapped around his character and his sacrifice in the end. Like, how can we forget that and say season 1 was that bad when it's got that much good stuff in it?
That's true. Right. Well, we can go back and do a rewatch.
Yeah. All right. So as I led into, I actually beat you by half a point. I am rating this one an 8. Natari eggs under the avalanche playing cards to save the timeline.
I love your rating. Props.
Just had to mix it up there. So I am finally feeling like Legends has found itself as much as it can in this dark magic-infested season. What have I been asking for all season? Cool time travel to fun historical periods, adventures along the timeline, and more Mick, and some heart put back into our characters. And guess what? Legends delivered all of my requests in one episode. Now sure, it wasn't a perfect one, or the best one by far, but they gave us a bit of everything it's been lacking, making this one one of the better episodes this season. I mean, come on, we went to the Ice Age 1.3 million years ago. That's got to be one of the farthest trips back in time yet. And then they added in ship blasters, avalanches, being trapped under the ice, then escaping with all the Star Wars nods, all just adventurous fun. We went to 55 BCE to Stonehenge, and that's always a cool mystical location, which I think is perfect setting for some magic to take place. Mick finally had a big role to play and lots of dialogue, putting him in the thick of everything that's going on. Round of applause. Yay.
Yay.
And we get a lot of feels over the potential loss of Ray, which was nice to see the team acknowledging his worth. Add in some typical Legends wackiness, nipple-eye niptizing.
Oh my God.
And you have a pretty complete episode in Legends terms.
I agree with you. It just, because of the beginning, it just didn't quite get over that last half a point for me into a truly, like, what I would say one of the better episodes. It wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. There's a lot about this episode that I liked, but I'll talk about the inconsistencies, and that's ultimately what kind of just brought it down just a tad.
All right.
Just a tad. So,
well, before we get into that, it's not really so much news, so I won't play our news report clip, but
yeah,
you got something you kind of want to point out here that's come up on us really fast.
I know. Just a reminder, folks, there are only 2 episodes left this season. It's really hard to believe that it's almost over. It feels to me like we just came back, but
It's crazy. Like already we're down to our last 2 episodes because we did just come back. I don't get it. It could be that maybe we aren't getting a very deep storyline and that we're not fully invested in, that it feels like we've missed some time somewhere. I don't know. It's like there hasn't been that edge of your seat gripping, this season that's keeping us hanging on and wondering what's coming next. And I don't know. And it's something that just makes it feel like it's been a long, tense season. It's hard to put into words why we're suddenly at the end and it doesn't feel like we've been on this long journey with our team this season.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I think it has to do with, it felt like the first half of the season and the second half of the season definitely felt completely different. And I know we had a big break in between, but the writing and the filming didn't stop. I mean, we took the break, but they didn't. I mean, this stuff has all been produced for months at this point, So I don't know. I don't quite know what it is, but it definitely, and I wonder if they put the break in there intentionally. I don't know, to make it truly feel like it was almost 2 seasons, because that's how it's kind of felt to me.
Yeah, because it's quite different from the first half to the second half. It's very different with what they've put together, and the changes which we've discussed. And with Mr. Hank there, and now Neron. Yeah, it has changed quite a bit.
Yeah, or maybe they put that long break in there so that all the shows would end at the same time, because Flash and Arrow finales are next week, right? And then we're the following week.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Arrow does finale next week, and so does Flash. So,
which is also hard to believe. Those seasons have also been broken up weird, and I was like shocked to remember that the finales are next week.
I know. But when you look at it, we are in mid-May already, so I guess stuff just comes up on us quickly.
Well, we took 4 months off.
I know. So you would
for
think,
our show.
You would think Legends would continue on for another 2 months or something once all the other shows end. That's the problem. But we don't get 24 episodes.
Yeah, 6 less episodes than everybody else.
Yeah.
Or do they have 24 or 22?
It's actually only 22 this year. It's been 23 for quite a few years, but now it's 22. So
maybe that's the other reason it feels like this finale snuck up on me.
Yeah, it could be. Well, that's what we got. So let's hope it's a wild ride to the finish, just like we're hoping for the other shows.
I know. Well, we'll see. 2 to go.
We will see. Now, one other little thing I just want to bring up yet again, the Discord channel, which is under my Cybercast Discord server. We did have a couple people log in and sign in, so thank you for doing that. So far, the Huntress Diana has been the only one actually getting some conversation going, so I just wanted to mention her, give her a bit of a shout out. Let's get some more discussion going, guys, post-show after you guys have listened to our podcast, if you want to keep the conversation going. All right, Harley, let's get into this episode. And you wanted to start off with some nitpicks, so I guess I owe you this.
Form of water!
There it is.
All right, where are you taking us for Complaint Alley this time?
All right, so there were a couple big things that stuck out to me, and I think that these were glaringly inconsistent with either prior storylines and or historical portrayals of our characters. So, first one, would Gideon really fire if Mick placed the order? He's not the captain, and it bothered me at the end of the day that Sarah hesitated and Gideon fired because Mick said to. He's not the captain. Gideon never took orders from anyone other than Rip until Rip was gone. And then so far it's just been Sarah mostly, right?
Yeah, no, I was wondering that too in the moment. And then after you posed this question, I was thinking, because all members of the team, do they have authority over Gideon's commands? Maybe they do, because when Sarah's not there, or should I say, what if Sarah isn't there? Would Gideon just ignore everybody? Because she does take commands from the entire team for normal stuff, when they tell her to turn up the heat or tell her to investigate something or whatever. She responds to all of them. She is accepting commands. Maybe they're not ship control commands. So that's where the difference is. And I don't know if everybody has that same type of level of command as Sarah does, but it's an interesting question. because of that scene.
Exactly. I felt like a shoot to kill kind of order should really only be accepted from the captain, or in the event of Sarah's incapacitation, acting captain, which at that point in time, Mick clearly was not.
No.
I mean, it felt more like a plot device to get them into a fight over something so that they could come back together as a team.
Or to get them stuck in a trap. I mean, they fell for the trap.
Well, but yeah. Sarah could have still given the order, because it would be consistent with her character of having to make like tough calls in the past, like as the captain. Mick's whole point was that she didn't want to make the tough call, or I don't know, that we can get into that later, but that was my first nitpick.
Well, the other thing too is, how often have we seen the Waverider's blasters? I don't know. I can't even remember the last time we saw the ship fire on anything. That almost seemed like new to me. So I'm also wondering, maybe in an instance like that, when she already made the command to draw the guns, maybe anybody can say fire. I mean, Gideon's obviously in emergency mode at that point. Maybe somebody just has to say fire, and that's that.
I don't know. Seemed convenient.
Cool. But yeah. Interesting. All right. What's your next one?
All right. So this episode, I felt like they kind of treated Mona's power like Caitlin and Killer Frost on The Flash. So when she first was kind of like brought about, it was Sarah talked to her as if her and like Mona and Wolfie were essentially the same person. So like, even though she was quote Wolfie, she remembered everything, or like did everything that like Mona would have said, and she was talking to her as if she was Mona. Okay. She wasn't talking to like a new being. So this just again felt inconsistent and just a little bit different, that they were presented as two separate people. Felt a little convenient. Whereas I felt when she was first introduced, they were presented as one person. But I mean, that was my take on it. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I misunderstood it. But that was it kind of felt like it was pretty inconsistent, again, for the sake of story. I don't know. What did you think on that?
Yeah, well, like it was a switch, or maybe a progression in that character's story. Because when Sarah was talking to her before, like you said in the diner there, she may have been addressing Mona, trying to reach her on the inside, thinking that this maybe isn't Mona. So maybe she, like we've seen when, like with Killer Frost, when Killer Frost was evil for a while in Flash and trying to take over Caitlin's body, they also talked her down, getting Caitlin to come back. They were talking to Caitlin. We know you're in there. We know you're in there, Caitlin. Come on, fight back. Get control of her again. Maybe it's a similar kind of thing. Trying to talk to Mona to get her to come back in control of the body and calm her down. That's the only other thing I can think of. I mean, this is just the first time that they've made sure to point it out that it is two separate personalities, which did surprise me in that moment, because we had like what you're leading with. We never saw that at all. But I kind of was taking it like Mona is not in control of her body at that time, so you have to kind of reach her on the inside. Maybe that's that, like you said, it's very similar to Killer Frost. Maybe that's what they're trying to tell us, is it's now two personalities, and they've got to.
But that is different than how they initially presented it, because when Sarah was trying to like talk her down, she was, I mean, quote, Wolfie says, well, I remember everything. And then Sarah comes to the realization, I thought, that like it's still really Mona. So like trying to quote, like reach Mona and tell her that's not her doesn't work. Like you have to get her to like more like control the emotions and quote, like calm down. Because remember, we described it as like Hulk. It's not really two distinct personalities, is it? I mean, I guess in some instances it can be, but
well,
I don't know.
The Hulk kind of is too, because you've heard Bruce Banner talking to Hulk like, "Come on, Hulk, come on, I need you." If you think back to Infinity War,
yeah,
so, yeah. I mean, it could be something similar to that, and maybe this is just, like I said, progression. Maybe they weren't so separate in the beginning, and now that it is becoming a separate entity.
Yeah,
they just didn't explain it. Is what happened.
No, they didn't
explain it. Yeah.
No, because it was convenient at that point for for them, for the sake of story, for her to remember everything. And then again, it was convenient for her to be two different people. So anyway, This is why it's a nitpick.
All right. And you've got yet another one.
Yeah, I've got, another one. These should go pretty quick, but they presented Constantine's magic as essentially kind of being inherited or coming from like a magical bloodline, which I thought was a pretty strong departure from how it was presented within his series.
Yeah. Now, is that what they really meant? Because I was looking at Neron stated that King Konstentyn was the first that got into magic. It's not necessarily a genetic thing. It's just sort of like a profession interest that's been passed down the line, just because they're naturally good at something. Kind of like if you look at modern times, a certain family of generations of families are all cops or they're all firemen or something like that because, my dad was a cop, my grandfather's a cop, I should be a cop too, just to continue. So I was kind of thinking maybe that's what this is King Konstantyn was the first one to express interest in magic because he figured out he was good at it. And the family bloodline just kind of continued that because like, hey, our forefathers have all done this. I might as well keep the tradition. I don't know.
I mean, like, I agree with what you're saying, but I think that at one point, I feel like Neron also said that it was like a magical bloodline or something, which seemed very much like a Legends type of spin on Constantine. Because like prior to this, I mean, he hated his dad, and I mean, he didn't really know his mom, but there's no presentation that they were ever into magic. Like he was, he got into the occult and the dark arts through like a friend of his, basically.
Well, and maybe
at least in his show, like from the comics, I don't know enough to know, but
yeah, maybe he just didn't know. Maybe he just inherently came into it. Like he was
like attracted to it.
He was attracted to it because his bloodline is just really good with magic, and he just fell into it, not really knowing his family's past. Because it did seem like when he met the king, he was surprised, like, I didn't know that this ran in my family. So yeah, again.
Yeah, exactly. Like he had no idea about it. So I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Again, this didn't explain enough of it. And I don't know if they would be changing that much of his character story from his own show to this one. Yeah, it's hard to say.
I know. Yeah, it's hard to say because it's all supposed to be technically connected, even though it's not really. But all right, last one I've got. Nora getting whammied.
I'm surprised your rating is so high considering all of this.
Well, these are pretty they're pretty small nitpicks. I mean, it's convenient. Like this one's convenient. Like Nora getting whammied. I felt like that was, it was purely plot device, purely convenience. I mean, she's really powerful. We really think like Gary's nipple would overcome her. Especially when Mona was able to hold out long enough for Wolfie to take over. I mean, come on. It was all for the sake of story, which is why it's a nitpick.
Yeah. And the thing, I agree with you the strongest on this one, because we didn't even see it happen. We didn't even see Nora getting taken over, which leads me to, I just wasn't sure how to even take that, because we didn't see how long that they even have to look at the eye nipple to be hypnotized. So this is why I can see your point, because if Mona can look away and not be entranced, why wouldn't Nora be able to? Because it seems like the way Gary presented it to Mona, she looked at it for a few moments and then was able to turn away and say, no, I don't want that. So why couldn't Nora? That's what I'm saying. How long do they have to look at it to be hypnotized? So what I was thinking for a second as the episode was going on, I thought that Nora was maybe just playing it up again to get inside the office and see what's going on, to see what's happening. I thought, because Nora, all the other agents seem to be quite hypnotized and walking around like zombies and just saying, Gary's the only man we need. Nora wasn't. She was actually fooling Mona so that she could trap her.
Right. Which was also inconsistent in and of itself.
Amongst the inconsistent amongst the inconsistency.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with you on that one. If we could have seen Nora get taken by Gary, then that would have made a little more sense.
Yeah, I think so too. But, time constraints, I guess. So these are all small things and not like, going to like totally derail an episode or my rating of an episode. But because of it and all of the plot deviciness of it, that's part of the 7.5. So.
Yeah. And since you're throwing out all the nitpicks, I actually had one from this episode, and Patty Spivot actually pointed it out before I could react to it, but my reaction is the same. And this one for me is just, it's Gideon saying the magicometer is calibrated to sense when Constantine casts magic. Magicometer? Really, writing team? That's completely the lamest thing they have ever come up with. It makes no sense, and it just actually sounds stupid, even for this show.
Yeah, I know. Wasn't it like the first or second episode of this season where they were throwing around names and they never really decided on one?
I don't remember them coming up with a magic meter measuring thing.
Yeah, that in like the very first episode of this season, because they needed a way to track down all the magical creatures, which to your point, until she said magicometer, I had kind of completely forgotten about it because we were speculating about how they were even going to find Constantine. And you'll note that Gideon using the magicometer was not in our suggestions of how they would find Constantine. Yeah. So
that's just horrible. I can come up with better names for things than that. Come on.
Yeah. I didn't like that one either.
But let's end the nitpick section here with, I'm going to pull out a funny point that I wanted to make mention here. And that was just Nora's bureau pick for her security badge. I thought that was a great scene. I thought the actress did a phenomenal job with her stumbling and bumbling, trying to get something out of it. And then they take the picture. It was funny. She's pretty funny. I really like her style of comedy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love what she does with this character. Yeah. It's dark, but it's humorous and it's just sort of like pretty deadpan. I really enjoy what she's doing with it. I find it very funny.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, let's get into our main stories. How'd you break it down this time?
All right. I broke it down into, I think, the three main storylines because they were pretty distinctly separate until really the very end. Mm-hmm. So I figured we can tackle each of the storylines and then save some of the postulation and theorizing for the very end.
Okay.
So the first one is, I figured we should talk all about our Legends family, because I definitely felt that the moral of this storyline was we all just need to get along and also leave no man behind.
Yeah. And for me, that makes a strong team and what makes for great dramatic and emotional stories. I so prefer seeing them work together and have each other's backs. It's more meaningful and gives depth to the consequences and outcomes of each episode.
Yes, I agree. So I kind of liked that they needed to get back to that and get back to being a more cohesive team. So I did like the premise of the storyline, despite my nitpicks of some of the other things.
Yeah.
All right. So the next piece of this is just the concept. Mick makes the quote, like, tough call. Do we kind of agree with it? Do we disagree with it? It fits with his character, but I don't know. What do you think about
Well,
that?
we kind of touched on it already, and it's such a gray area because you can argue both sides, really. I mean, me personally, I'd say don't shoot, just in case you can save Ray. But it also makes sense to take out Neron while you can. He's there in a vulnerable state. There's a possibility Ray is lost. We don't know. You could take him out. There's an argument for that side too. Take him out and you have to suffer the consequences of possibly losing Ray. I don't know.
I know. Yeah. I mean, it's a classic kind of like catch-22 scenario, or even if you want to take it a little bit darker, the kind of like, do we drop the atom bomb scenario? You know, it's like, do you let a war slog on for 5 to 10 years and literally kill millions upon millions more people, potentially wipe out half the population of the Earth? Or do you use an extremely powerful weapon and take significant civilian collateral damage, but effectively end a war? I mean, it's kind of that similar question. There's not really a good answer.
That's an excellent correlation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, do you end Neron here and now, knowing you'll lose Ray forever as the collateral damage, or do you let him run amok on the Earth and bring hell to Earth and do whatever it is he has planned that we still don't actually know?
No, we don't. Yeah.
2 episodes left. We still don't know.
Well, I said I wouldn't fire. Would you?
Would I? Probably not. I don't know that I would. I agree with you. I think, and I agree, ultimately with the ending. If there's a way or a chance that, we could save him, I don't know that I would do it.
Let me make one change. If it was Batman standing there, would you fire?
No.
No.
Well, me is me. I love Batman.
No, but I'm meaning you,
but
Harley
me
Quinn.
Is Harley Quinn. I don't know. Probably.
You're out of character tonight. What the heck?
I know. It's Friday. It's been a long week.
Yes, it's been a long week. All right. Well, let's continue talking about Mick here.
Okay. All right. So he takes the dark stance, right? So he wants to end Ray before, not really Ray, but Neron can end them. So technically, this is exactly what Konstantine kind of recommended. I mean, initially, obviously, he comes round by the end of the episode, but he's taking that stance of go ahead and kill him now, like nip it in the bud while you have the chance. So I don't know. He has this whole quote. I don't know if it's going to come back at any point, but basically, like, where he's saying, if someone on your team goes dark, you don't wait for them to come back and double cross you or whatever. You take them out while you have the chance. And so he took his chance. That's kind of his dark past coming, his villain role kind of coming back to the forefront.
Yeah, but you're right, though. It was John who did say to do it. When he's on his knees in the snow there, he said, take him out now. And he was getting mad at Sarah for hesitating. So you can't really fully blame Mick for taking the shot. They've also seen some bad stuff and knowing what could happen if they don't take out Neron now. And that's probably what Mick was thinking. This might be their only chance. So you can't be mad at him for it, really.
Yeah. No, I mean, I wasn't mad. I mean, like I like you said, I kind of understood both sides. I understood Sarah's hesitation, and then I understood Mick wanting to just go ahead and do it to end it. So
yeah,
there's no easy answer, but they definitely needed to cause some sort of a fight so that we would have something to work towards and have resolution by the end of the storyline.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a tense moment, and Nate is fighting to save Ray, of course, and Mick says it, and Constantine wants it to happen. I mean, the characters basically split evenly, and it put a little tension between them. So they have to figure it out. I mean, I'm fine with it. It allowed our characters to have to come back together and be part of that plot point of being a team, being the legends together. They've got to have each other's backs, or this kind of stuff happens. So to me, it worked. For story writing, it works because it led into what needed to happen. So,
yeah, no, I agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah, conveniences aside, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you want to bring up a couple other points while we're still on this before we go into a couple other points I had on this story?
Oh yeah, you got something here about Nate and Ray. So let's talk about that too.
Okay, so yeah, we kind of were digging into this a little bit, where Nate, I mean, he's insisting that Ray is still in there somewhere, even though he willingly kind of gave up and gave over his body to Neron. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, his body is intact, right? So I guess technically, in theory, provided someone goes to get him the same way that Sarah went to get Ava, I guess he could, in theory, be restored to his body. But do they have to pull Neron out of his body? I don't know. I have a lot of questions there. They were able to do that with Dez. Like, once Neron came out, Dez came back. So is it that simple, or is it more difficult because Ray willingly kind of gave over? I don't know.
That's a good question. And really that bit about Des is the only redeeming point that we have to hang on to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know how it's going to I don't know if there's any difference just because Ray gave over. I mean, Neron really is just some type of spiritual force, really. Like he's a cloud of smoke. And
yeah, I mean, he's a demon.
Yeah. So he's not like physically, essentially, like not an embodiment of a demon. He's an energy, really, that took over Ray's body. So you would think if they could get it out, Ray should get his body back. I don't know what else what else we could say about it. Yeah, we just got to cross fingers, hope for the best. I would be so shocked if they took Ray out this season. I can't. I mean, we haven't lost a character since Snart, really. So
no, we really haven't. Which brings me to another point. I think you have some other things you want to talk about in this particular moment, but that was a good segue.
Well, I mean, I just wanted to point out a cool shot. I mean, to see them blast the mountainside with their blasters and start an avalanche that buries the ship. I just wanted to point out how cool that actually was, because we haven't had a whoa moment of that size in a long while. That kind of moment where we feel, and oh no, what are they going to do? How are they going to get out of that? That was a great edge of your seat kind of holy crap moment.
That's true. It was. And we have not had that for a very long time.
Yeah.
It was definitely one of those where even though you know they're not going to kill off the entire cast all in one fell swoop, you did feel the peril a bit. So
exactly.
I thought that part was good.
Which is good, which is what we need for our show and we need for our team. I mean, and like I was saying in my opening monologue, just that the adventure of it all, they're 1.3 million years in the past and they're trapped under an avalanche now and the ship is running out of power. That's some dire consequences. And I love it. I love the idea of them having to figure it out. And, you know, they almost come to the resolve that this is the end. Let's just enjoy our time together, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. But it just brings everything full circle that here they are trapped and could be the end. Even though in our minds we're knowing it's not the end, it's still pretty dire. And they figured out a way to get through it and enjoy the last moments. So yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was a great moment. It was very cool, very exciting, which we haven't had for a while. So I really like that. Now, something else, going back, I should have maybe led with this one first, but going back to Neron, just listening to the way he said Ray is gone, that he's fully taken over his body, that actually had me worried. And that sounded pretty final to me, the way Neron was saying, which is, it's just planting that seed in my head that could they possibly be getting rid of Ray by the way Neron was saying that?
I mean, they could technically. I mean, I think that's what they want us to believe. Although the ending then kind of gives us a tiny sliver of hope with Konstantine kind of sort of sacrificing himself in a way. So I don't know. I don't know what to think at this point. But if he truly is gone, then that would make this next statement true, is that Sarah and Mick really are the last of the original legends if Ray is gone, because he would have been the only other one.
You know,
it just makes me sad.
Yeah. And when Mick and Sarah said that, it shocked me because I realized, holy cow, that is true. Really? They're the only two left from the original team when it all began?
Yes.
Holy cow, that was like a slap across the face eye opener. Like, wow, they really are the only two besides Ray at this point in time. Our show's changed a lot.
It has changed a lot. It has changed a lot, which another reason I kind of do want to go back and watch season 1. But it is a very different show and essentially a completely different cast. So
definitely. Yeah. It was surprising.
It was surprising. It was a little crazy. But Anyways, moving on to my next point here. I thought this was amusing, which you may not agree with me. But once again, it turns out that Charlie does sort of have a purpose. She's our voice of reason. She was the only one reminding the legends that they're a team and that they're a family and that they need to stick together instead of be at each other's throats the whole time. So,
see, I'm going to counter this here only because I disagree with it. For me, Charlie has not been with the team long enough, nor did she even give a damn before when she first joined the team. So to me, it doesn't land with any emotional bravado at all that she's the one that has to keep pointing out that they're a family and a team. It doesn't work. I mean, she's not working. I'm not a fan of her, but it doesn't work coming from her to keep reminding him of the family and be bringing it because she's not been there long enough to even know what their family bond is or know what this team has been through or anything. They need someone else to be bringing that up. Like if Mick brought it up, since Mick has all this amazing insight about everybody, it would be way better and much more of an emotional punch if he reminded them like, hey, we got to stick together. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, but him and Sarah are the ones fighting. So
yeah,
he wasn't ready to apologize, even though we all thought he did for half a second.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually kind of a cool moment because I was actually buying it. I thought, way to go, Mick. Like, this is right along the lines of his character growth, and that would have been perfect if it really was him. But he does eventually apologize later anyway, so it carried forward. So
it did.
Good.
It did. It was nice.
Good. I also want to point out the shout out to Snart here with the parkas. That was a cool moment for Charlie. I will give her that much that she said it. Oh, this Snart guy leaving all these jackets. Yeah, it was great.
That was good. I did enjoy the shout out, especially with all them wearing all the cold coats. It was great.
Exactly. Now, can we just agree that Cards to Save the Timeline needs to be released and produced as an actual game to play? Because I would buy the first release of it immediately.
Yeah, totally. I would fund that Kickstarter for sure. I may have sent another tweet to the writer's room requesting this game and mixed books.
Yes. Awesome. Did you send the tweet from our account or personal tweet?
I did.
Cool.
No, I do most of it from, if it's Legends related, I usually do it from our account.
I would hit them up with both, just start bombarding them because get them to see more and more interest than they might think about it.
Yeah. Well, a couple people piggybacked off of it. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to King Konstentyn.
King Konstantine. Oh, man. Okay. So this was an interesting storyline. At first, it was just kind of like, what is happening? And then towards the end, I really liked it because mostly I was really enjoying Matt Ryan's performance. Mm-hmm. But okay, just to start with, I thought that this was kind of an interesting tactic for Neron to employ. He is essentially kind of using fear to get Constantine, our John Constantine, to actually enhance his magic. So he's basically just manipulate. I mean, we see him manipulating him throughout the entire episode, right? With the end goal of getting him to save himself from hell so that he stabilizes the vortex.
This is where I was a little bit confused with this episode because I didn't understand about the fear. Fear of what? Is he making Constantine scared of losing this fight with Neron so he would use his magic, or he's scared of going to hell? What? I don't know. Can you explain a little bit further?
Yeah. So he was trying to basically get him to admit or to realize that he truly is too scared to go down to hell because that's where he's going anyway. I mean, he gave his soul over long ago. I mean, that's part of his lore. When he dies, that's where he goes. And so he was trying to basically get him to meet his demise or get banished to hell pretty early, but mostly because he was saying, if you're too afraid, you're too afraid to go, you're going to realize it. And in the end, you're going to end up saving yourself. And it wasn't so much in the end that he ended up saving himself. He ended up doing it, I think, mostly to save the innocent creature. So, once he realizes that they're about to be pulled down, he, conjures up some spell and does exactly what Neron wanted him to do and stabilizes the vortex so that he can free his little Puka friend, and then he can make his decision on what to do.
Right. Okay. That makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah. So that's why it goes from red to blue and all of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that stuff I understood. It's just the fear. Like, what's he supposed to be scared of? That's where I wasn't quite sure. But
hell or being banished, I think, was the idea.
But even though he expected, he said, I expect I was going to end up there anyway.
Well, he knows it. Yeah. I mean, he can't go anywhere else. I mean, he literally he made some deal with someone long ago, and his soul is going to permanently reside there. So
okay.
He just wasn't, I guess, quite ready to go. I don't know. I think that's what Neron was banking on, that he would figure it out, so he would essentially save himself, which he kind of did. And then until he didn't. But
okay. Cool.
All right. Next little bit here. Were you as surprised as I was to see like Matt Ryan, aka John Constantine, dressed up as another character?
Yes, I wanted to make sure to point this part out because it's one of the highlights of this episode. He finally gets to play dress up and act out another role that belongs to the time period they're in. And he did it so well. He looked the part. And I've got to say, for the CW, that has to be the most decent looking wig they've actually ever used on these shows. You know, the wig problem on all the other shows. This one looked real. It actually looked like long hair on him. And he did such a good job just getting to see him play something else and be out of that darn trench coat. Awesome.
Yes. I thought you would like that, so I made sure to call it out, because literally as soon as they're talking about it and it pans over and it shows him as the other character, I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
He finally gets the chance to play dress up. That's so great. And yes, the wig, much, much improved. I don't know where they got that one from, but it was much, much better than, say, the Damien Dark Thor wig from a couple of seasons ago. I think that was the Bebo episode.
That one was so bad too.
It was so bad.
And another problem, I mean, way back then, Damien Dark the actor's face did not suit that time period. He does not look like a Viking of any kind. John Constantine in this moment looked like he could have been back then. Well,
he's Welsh, so
true.
I mean, geographically, he's kind of descended from at least that area of people. So, but I thought he did it great. I felt like he embodied the part decently well. It was funny, like it was funny how similar it was to Constantine in a lot of ways. Like not because I felt like, you know, Matt Ryan was like doing a bad job or anything, but just because I think that was the point they were trying to make. And so I thought that was funny that his long lost ancestor was a lot more like him than
they haven't evolved very much.
I guess not. It was pretty funny.
Too funny.
All right. So my next point here, nitpick aside, Neron does bring Constantine here because it's his ancestor ultimately, I guess, or so he says, that creates kind of like this rift between humans and magical creatures. So I thought that was just an interesting thing to point out, because I feel like we've kind of been battling that all season, where in the beginning we were just banishing them to hell until we had the run-in with Charlie, who convinced the team that they didn't have to do that. And then Constantine even says it himself, oh, this type of creature is not an evil creature. He's just misunderstood. And so, he doesn't really deserve to be banished. And so I thought that was interesting that they pegged this particular relationship to, I guess, quote, create a rift between humans and magical creatures.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, like, why this specific point in time? Because what is relevant about that point in time to John to push him to use his magic eventually? Is it seeing that his ancestor is what caused the rift between magic creatures and people? The fact that it somehow in some distant way he's related to it, and he's, well, like I said, his family's the cause of it.
I have no idea. Because the whole thing they were going off of the king is that he was using Stonehenge and his people's fear to boost his magic. So I don't know if maybe Constantine was able to tap into all that energy in the same way. Now, I don't know if he can replicate it if he's not in Stonehenge. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm not really sure. That was the only correlation I could come up with.
No, that's actually a good point, because Stonehenge is known to be a very mystical, powerful, magical area, and they're only speculating what it used to be used for back then in regards to magic and stuff. So it would make sense that Neron brings him to that point in time when Stonehenge was still strong, and Constantine is able to use that to stabilize the rift, to the opening to hell for him. Now it's making sense.
Yep. That's it. All right. Well, I'm glad we talked that point through. That just kind of brought that all full circle for me as well.
That worked out. See, conversation and discussion is good.
It is so good. Okay, man. On the second watch, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit distracted on my first watch, and so I made sure to not rate it until after I had watched it twice.
Okay.
But because you know what's happening, it is just so painfully obvious what Neron was doing, like how he was just manipulating him the entire time. Like you could just see like the strings being pulled, like dance, puppet, dance.
All I can say is, well, duh, Harley. That's what he was doing. That's his whole game. Manipulation.
I know. But it was like, for whatever, and maybe it was because I was distracted the first time that I watched it, but I didn't pick up on just how obvious and pointed it was until I knew everything that had already happened. And as I was going back, I was like, oh, well, yeah, duh, as you just said.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
But Constantine and this, it's such a silly name, Puka, that it makes me think of Pokemon or something. What's a Puka?
It kind of looked like a Pikachu a little bit. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to lie. I didn't really do any research on it. I just sort of was taking it at face value in Constantine's explanation of it.
Yeah.
But what I liked about these scenes is, one, Matt just shows his capacity to act and just bring, like you always said, like a good, like emotional feel. Like he does really well with those types of scenes. And it shows that his character, I think, just cares, despite his insistence that he A, doesn't, and B, has to push people away to protect them. I mean, he's not wrong. Like, I think he does truly believe that anyone close to him will always die or be doomed or whatever, and that truly just being alone is the only way that he can, I guess, save people from himself. But at times it felt like he was saying that he was a bad guy. Like he reversed himself as a bastard like several times. And then the creature, the Puka, decides to heal him. And he was surprised by it. He's like, like, why would you heal someone like me? And it kind of shows that he really is kind of like a good guy on the inside, because those creatures, I think what they were saying is that they're supposed to reflect or feed off of the emotions that you're exuding. So he was acting kind of like wild and frightened because the king was instilling like fear in all of his people. And so he was kind of feeding off of that fear and that malice. But then around like John Constantine, he could tell that he was trying to keep him safe or to like try to save him, and that he was concerned for Ray and was trying not to give in to Neron and like all these complex emotions. So that's why he heals him, because he's really like a good guy on the inside, despite what he shows. So,
and you know what else? We got a genuine smile from Constantine. Not a snarky, I'm smiling because I'm one up on you about something. It was a genuine, caring smile towards the Puka. We have never seen that.
That's true.
It was such a nice surprise to see that. And then it was also nice to hear him feel guilty over losing Ray and not being able to save the legends and whoever else he was bringing up. So yeah, I mean, he does care about people, and at this moment when I think when he thought he was at his end is when he starts to reveal and open up just a little bit. And it's funny that it's to a creature that can't even speak. But I'm also wondering, you say that creature, it reacts based on what it's feeling from whoever it's around. I wonder if it also reverses. So it allowed Constantine to open up a little bit as well, because this creature is showing that he can. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, that smile, it was a genuine smile. I've never even seen the actor smile like that. So it was really good.
It was very good. I really, really did like these scenes. This is the point when that storyline really kind of started to like draw me in and kind of just pull me along for the ride with it. So, All right. So the last point I have in this storyline is the reveal of Tabitha.
Oh man.
Because I would not have predicted this in a million years. Like, never did I think the fairy godmother was going to come back as Tabitha.
That was a holy WTF moment. I couldn't believe, same thing. I did not think she was ever going to come back. But then they reveal that she's just the host body for Tabitha, and it made sense. And if you think about it, when we first met her, the fairy godmother, at the end of that episode, when her and Constantine are kind of fighting, he's trying to send her hell, and she's saying, no, don't send me back there. Do you remember she starts saying something along the lines of knowing John and what he's done?
And that she knows what's coming for him?
Exactly. That, to me, kind of connects that she was Tabitha all along, just trapped in this fairy godmother body.
I was leaning that way as well, because I felt like her powers and the way that she was treating those powers were just a tad on the evil side. And I know in the beginning that was kind of the whole point, is they wanted to take the concept of magical creatures and kind of turn it on their heads. Unicorns are not, bright and sparkly. They're evil, murderous beasts, and the fairy godmother was going around killing people. But I find this to be more believable, that the reason that she was doing that is because the real fairy godmother is essentially like Tabitha's like taken over her body. And that made I agree. I was going there with you, and that made more sense to me as well. So
yeah. So obviously she's going to be around next episode, because she's not out of the fairy godmother body. I guess they really like the lady playing the part. They just got to figure out a way to bring her back. So yeah, she's fun.
She is fun. I mean, it's a great actress. Oh God, but that kiss! Oh my God.
Just so funny.
I was like, oh,
kissing your grandma on the mouth. Yeah. I don't know.
French kissing your grandma. Anyway, let's move on to the next storyline.
To all the man that we need.
Gary Green is all the man we need.
Oh boy.
All right, straight up. Let's just have at it. How did we feel about the hypnotism storyline? I personally was hoping for more of a clone thing. Like maybe the clones with Ava were going to come in, especially after Mona mentions it. And then I was kind of leaning towards when more people were getting like snatched, that maybe it was like an invasion of the body snatchers type of thing. Or even I would have even gone with the LMD concept from S.H.I.E.L.D. at this point.
See, now you're asking for way too much from our Legends show. But I agree with the clone angle for sure. That was my first reaction, was that it has to be a clone that Neron went and got. I mean,
yes.
The hypnotism idea, it does work, really.
It does.
I mean, Gary doesn't have any real power, if you think about it. He's now just a henchman of Neron at this point. So having the Bureau agents all fall under his spell does kind of make sense. Neron just gives him that little bit of power to be able to take, to be in control of the Bureau for now, until he obviously comes back. So yeah, I mean, all the other ideas
once anyway, I guess, right?
Yeah, it does make sense, even though we could have done so much better. I mean, the LMDs from S.H.I.E.L.D., that's a phenomenal storyline, but they'd be stealing from Marvel. And speaking of, S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back tonight.
I saw that.
Oh my God.
I'm so excited.
It's hands down, it is the best comic books based TV show on air right now. Sorry, we're going off on a tangent here, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and if you've listened to my Cybercast episode about TV shows you should be watching, it was #1 on the list.
Yes.
It is so epic and dramatic, almost every episode, especially in the later seasons and the last few seasons. You feel like you're watching a Marvel movie. Put it on that grand scale. That's how good it is.
I am not going to lie. I know they don't try, especially in the later seasons, they didn't try to tie it as heavily into the movies. I really, really want them to somehow tie it into Endgame, just to get, no spoilers, but just to get a little nod to the major thing that happened. Well, not even that. I'm talking about like the end of Endgame.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see. That would be. It'll be cool to see what they're going to do with it. It looks like Coulson comes back as a bad guy, and it's not even Coulson. It's another version of him from somewhere else in the galaxy. I don't know, but he's coming back to hunt down all the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And anyway, wow, we're way off topic.
We went, this has apparently become the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast.
Jeez, we should, when Legends end, we should maybe cover S.H.I.E.L.D. if it's still going. Because I love it. I love that show.
I know. I love it too, but I know of at least two other S.H.I.E.L.D. podcasts. And I'm sure there are many more. But anyways.
All right. Back to Gary's nipple.
Yes.
How's that for coming back?
I don't know. I feel like we got sidetracked. But the next point I have on his nipple was, why does it have an eyeball?
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that, but all I could think of is that it was such a callback to older movies that used to use eyeballs in weird places all the time. It's like a witchcraft type of thing, which witchcraft is connected to demonology and all that kind of stuff. If anyone remembers the old movie Beastmaster, there was 3 witches that were all blind and they shared an eyeball to be able to see. They passed the eyeball around and they could see through it. And they had another eyeball that was in a ring. So that one of the characters of the movie wore a ring, and he never knew that the ring could open. It just looked like a sealed ring. But when the witches needed to connect to it, the ring would actually open and there was an eyeball in it, and they could see whatever the character that was wearing it, they could see through his ring where he was and what was going on. So seeing the nipple eye, it was definitely a creepy shock. And kind of gross. You should have heard Patty Spivot freak out about that one. She hates anything to do with eyeballs. So it was kind of funny. But I don't, how can I make a serious explanation for this here? His nipple spent time in hell, gained power and turned evil, bringing it to life. So it was probably some kind of evil demon using it as a way to see into this living realm. Is what I can come up with.
That's as good of an explanation as any, because I got nothing else.
Yeah, because
Gary was the only thing I could think of. Yeah,
Gary himself has no power, so that's why I'm thinking that the nipple itself is possessed by some demonic force. It's now part of Gary, and that demonic force is using Gary as its doorway into our world.
Yeah, that I agree. That's the only explanation I was coming up with too. So,
which is like the old movies I'm talking about. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right, there we go. That's why, folks.
Yes.
All right. So this made me laugh a bit. The whole premise of this storyline is that Gary is conducting performance reviews. I mean, of all the ways to gain power, really conducting a performance review is what you're going to go with.
Yeah.
But okay. I mean, gotta say, agree with Mona. Gary shouldn't be trusted with responsibilities. But confident Gary, now that was certainly something to see. And that was just so different than like the usual timid Gary that we usually get to see. So I did like that change in him. That was very cool to see.
How about suave Gary? Because
there we go.
He was so sure of himself and surprised a lot of people, even in the office there, especially when he takes his glasses off. He actually looked really cool. He was a good-looking guy. He looked totally in control and sure of himself. And he pulled it off so well, considering that we only know him as bumbling Gary. So in this moment, I don't think Gary is that inept. I think he's more nervous and geeky than he is incompetent. Because if you think about it, he got the job at the Time Bureau. He has the job. He obviously is able to do it, or he wouldn't even be an agent. Because can you imagine the trials and tests and whatever kind of stuff they have to pass to be able to become a Time Bureau agent? Like, I'm looking at it as something beyond the FBI or beyond the CIA, like of that type of level. So he has to have some kind of skill. to be able to become a time agent. He's just bumbling and he's nervous around women and he's geeky and nerdy, but he's got the skill. So I don't think of him as incompetent. And it's just everyone around him sees that because of, his personality. We've all worked with someone like that, or we've all had someone in school or class that's like that, before you start realizing that they're just people too, you judge them on their outward behavior and didn't think too highly of whatever their skills, right? So I would trust him. I think he just needs to be given that trust. Someone needs to give him the trust, show him the trust, and that would give him some confidence and he'd be able to perform. That's my feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I agree with your comments. I don't think he's totally inept, to your point. I mean, he's got the job and he's kept the job, so he can't be a total moron, right? Yeah. But I do think that they have made him into be more of like you said, like a bumbling kind of character. And so that's kind of why everybody kind of takes him for granted and treats him like a doormat and that whole thing. So
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. Anyways.
And now you're going to bring up Mona, which, yeah.
I am. I'm sorry. I really do like this actress. I know neither one of us is like super vibing with this character, but I do like her. And honestly, I thought she had some of the funniest stuff in this episode. I struggled to find funny things in this episode. And a lot of what she had, it was situational. So it wasn't great for quotes, most of it, but I did like what she did with it. So
I won't deny she had some fun scenes, I guess, that she got to do, but just the character. I'm so mad on her. She can follow Charlie right out the door, open one of those time watches and poof, be gone. It's just because we got too many characters, and I stand by that. We got too many characters. Those two are the ones that can just go.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I do feel the too many characters. So, but I like that actress for what it's worth. But
sure. Yeah, you're allowed to.
That's about it.
All right. Well, where do we go from here?
I don't know. So this is the section I've set up for some questions. Now, some of this we've already talked about, but maybe we can just bring it all back up and kind of put like a nice little bow on our discussion here. Mm-hmm. So the main thing that happens at the end of this episode that we weren't expecting, certainly I wasn't expecting, is that Konstantyn willingly throws himself into the breach, heads down to hell to actively search for Ray. So what do we feel about this?
Well, it shocked me in the sense that Konstantyn was willing to do that, to go save Ray, go save the legends if he can, and I keep forgetting the name of the girl that's down there.
Astra,
that he couldn't save. He threw himself in, and what made me feel a lot for him in that moment is as he's falling down the pit, he's burning up alive. Mm-hmm. And that was really hard to watch. I mean, he was in pain. He's falling like almost in slow motion and he's burning up. And it's like, oh, poor guy. Like, holy cow, what's going to happen to him? Is he going to come back from this? Now we got to worry about him too. Now, my question is, what was that tower in the distance that we were left looking at? Because I felt like we were supposed to recognize it or something.
I felt like we were too, and to me it looked vaguely Egyptian in nature, but then like the tower part of it looked more industrial. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if we're necessarily supposed to recognize it or if we're focusing on it because they're trying to convey to us that that's the goal, like that's where he's got to go. That
could be it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I was kind of chuckling at a little bit is that hell is nothing but a rundown city. And it's often so many TV shows and movies turn to this. And I'm just guessing for Legends that the budget wasn't there for fiery pits of lava.
Probably not. We've had quite a bit of CG this season, and I have a feeling there is more to come. So they're probably cutting corners where they can, which includes no atom suit, no steel powers, no superpowers to speak of. So
yeah. But they did good this episode. This episode looked good and it felt good. It flowed well. So, they did well with the budget for this one, I thought.
They did. No, I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed the storytelling for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've got two main questions. One, and we've kind of touched on this, but we can kind of recap it. Do we think Ray is truly gone?
I don't think he can be. I mean, I haven't heard anything about Brandon Routh wanting off the show or anything like that. So they have to save him. He's the heart and the Boy Scout of the team. But I like that we have some serious concerns now. There's risk and there's consequence now. Our show's been lacking that. So this is giving weight to our story, to the season arc. It's given us something to worry about because now we're worried about Ray. Now we're worried about Konstantyn. We were concerned about the legends being trapped on the ice. So we've got a lot now that suddenly I'm invested in and going, uh-oh. And we haven't had that. So despite being so worried about Ray, I'm glad that we are able to be worried about Ray.
Yes, I agree. And as much as I feel like they're trying to tell us too much that like Ray is gone. So I feel like it's kind of a red herring. Mm-hmm. Or again, maybe I'm just hoping it's a red herring because one, I definitely don't want to lose Brandon Routh like at all because I really like him.
Nope.
And yeah. He's the only other original legend that we have left on this show. So I'm hopeful that Konstantyn can find a way to rescue him and Ray.
Yeah.
But now along the way, now this could get really interesting. Do we think he might have to choose between saving Ray and saving Astra?
Or save them both? I mean, this is where I'm having trouble because Astra really honestly means nothing to this show or to us as viewers of Legends.
Yeah.
Unless even in Konstantyn's own show, we never saw who she was really. They never fleshed out that story, but especially here on Legends, she means nothing. And I'm not trying to be mean about that. She doesn't. So he has to save Ray no matter what. I can't see it going any other way.
Yeah, I just thought it would be kind of like an interesting what if. I mean, since he's already down there, he's down in hell. They're both down there.
That's a good point.
He pointedly mentioned that those were the two people that he would want to save, and that it was, killing him, that they're down there being tortured and suffering while he was up here on Earth.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I don't even know if Konstantyn is meant to continue with our show next season or not. So depending on what they're planning to do with him, it'd be nice if he gets to have a happy ending and save everybody that he wants to save.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with him exactly. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I've heard nothing. We got no news on that front at all.
I know.
Well, I think it's time to move into our quotes of the week.
All right.
Shape out an eagle!
All right, so we got ourselves some winning quotes, and it looked like, from what I saw, we actually got quite a few votes this week.
Good.
And I don't know if that's because they had an extra few days or what, but, there's quite a few votes on there. So what was our winner for the funny quote this week? Or last week, I should say.
Our winner was Mick Silver.
It's Rebecca Silver. She's revealing her identity at Romanticon tonight.
Rebecca Silver?
The sex-positive novelist reinventing feminism.
Yeah, we know who she is.
Make sure you take lots of pictures.
Oh my God, thank you. I can't believe I'm going to be breathing the same air as Rebecca Silver.
That was a good line from one. I'll give her that.
It was. I just love Ava choking back a laugh. Yeah, we know who she is.
Yep. Good stuff. All right. Okay. You said it was tough to find really good ones this week because of the I guess it wasn't really a funny episode, but I think you got some good stuff. So what do you have to start off with?
To start, we have Agent Suave.
Thanks, doll. How are my babies doing? Let's rap for a sec.
Is Gary cool now?
That's impossible. Now, I know performance reviews can be quite a drag, but this year's going to be different because you've got Super Agent Gary Green in your corner, so no need to stress. Unless your infraction is looking too good in that suit, Agent Reyes knows what I'm talking about.
Oh my God, I think she just swooned.
This is a nightmare.
Pretty funny.
Pretty funny stuff.
Okay.
All right. What follows that one?
Cards against being weird.
Okay, I'll judge this round. You and your team are stuck in a trash compactor in an impromptu and possibly fatal homage to Star Wars. What do you do?
Boom. That's the one.
Yep. Ooh, gonna have to go with steel up as Sarah scales the wall.
Another point for me. Favoritism.
Why would I display favoritism?
Because you two are obviously shagging.
What?
Huh?
Yeah.
Yes! Finally! This is great. Maybe you guys won't be so weird now.
Yes.
I know. Love that.
That was just a fun scene. I wanted to be sitting there at that table playing with them.
Yes, me too.
Cool. Well, what is the last one?
Oh, the last one is Fairy God Tongue.
Oh.
So wonderful to be back. Brimstone was so awful for my complexion.
Oh, but you look ravishing, my love.
Hold on. Is he kissing?
Oh, it's a fairy godmother.
Is that tongue? We're singing.
We're so screwed.
Does Mick say more singing?
I think so.
Did he say it like he's asking for it because he wants it?
Or was he saying it as in there's going to be more singing because she's back as the fairy, like more singing?
Either way.
That's kind of how I took it.
Funny stuff.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
The smooching, you could hear the sound effects too.
I know.
Is that tongue?
Cool. All right. Well, then let's move on to your serious scenes with that funny quote. And who won last week?
Yes, let's. The winner from last week was Ray Sacrifices.
I'm Ray. The rest of me isn't. Nate, you have to get out of here. You have to leave. I won't leave you, buddy. Okay, you got possessed by Neron. You have to go. Who's gonna make me kill you? No, because I believe you, Raymond, are stronger than he is. Nate, I'm so sorry. Why are you hitting me? Rose! Rose! I give up. You hear me, Neron? I give up. Spare Nate, and I'll let you have me. Just promise me you won't hurt him, and I won't resist.
I was trying to count how many times he punches him. That's like 15 punches there.
It was a lot.
Yeah. Wow. Ouch. Tough scene. Very tough scene.
Very tough. All right. Well, what do you have for us this week?
All right. The first one we are going with is called Under Fire.
We need to be responsible and conserve power. Cut off the main generator, the fabricator, and the thermostat.
Neron is out there with Ray and Constantine, all because we fell for his trap because you fired on Ray.
And what was your plan, Pretty? Beat him to death in a snowball fight?
We were supposed to take him in, not take him out, Mick.
Ray's gone. When a team member goes dark, you end them before they end you.
Rory, with me. You made the call, you're helping us get out of here.
No problem.
Yeah, that was a tense moment. That's why I had to include that one.
Yeah, and that was good because I'm glad that quote got played again. That was what I was referring to earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, where are we going with your second scene? What do you got?
This one I'm calling The Influence of Ray.
Cards to Save the Timeline. A team-building card game by Ray Palmer.
I miss hating him.
You remember that night we all met standing up on that rooftop and Rip told us that we were going to be legends?
Embarrassing. You know what? We're the last of the originals.
Weird. Legends were different back then. We were different back then. Look, I know that book convention was important to you, and I'm really glad that you got to go.
I'm glad you have Ava.
Thanks. Guess we're growing up, and hopefully not growing apart.
There's a lot in that clip. There's Mick and Sarah coming to terms with each other and apologizing and just kind of connecting. And they're connecting based on how much time they've been together on the show and on the Waverider. And then there's also the acknowledgement of Ray and how he's always been there for everybody. He's basically like I always call him the Boy Scout, but they were kind of realizing what he brings to the team. And even Mick says, I miss hating him. Like, that's the best way Mick could express that. There's a lot in that one.
Yeah, no, that was a good one as well. And it got that little quote about them being the only originals left.
Which is what we talked about and why I picked it. Yeah, because that moment was like, whoa, they actually are. Holy cow.
I know, it's crazy. All right, well, what is our not so last scene?
Well, the last quote up for the voting block is called "Not Such a Bastard."
To tell you the truth, I'm bloody well terrified. No, it's not the eternity of torture. All the people who are after my head now. It's that I'll have to watch Raymond and Astra and all the others I've failed be tortured along with me. Even led the legends to their death. You're next in line. Yeah, that's right, you sense the rottenness inside me, don't you? No better than the bloody king. Why would you heal a bastard like me?
We were talking about some of that as well.
We were. That was a great scene. I loved that one.
Yeah, it's just John really opening up and expressing how bad he feels for what's happened, that he feels it's his fault. So, yeah, it's sad.
It is. It is.
All right. I wanted to round it out with an actual fun one. This is just a bonus clip, not up for voting on because this is not a serious scene. It's just, there was so much Star Wars homage in this episode that was so much fun. This was my favorite part, and I'm calling it the odds.
We're running on very low reserve power. The odds of us successfully pushing through the avalanche above us are 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds, Gideon. Everyone, hold on tight.
Just love it.
It was a good one.
So much fun. Neither funny nor serious, just fun.
Agree.
Well, let's move into our feedback.
Planetary powers, activate!
All right. Well, we did a last minute shout out to get as much feedback in as we can so we can hold a little contest, which you may have saw on the Facebook page. And we actually gave a stipulation. We said we want a minimum of 5 to have this contest because, we work. So why shouldn't you guys work to win something? But we got 4 in and we had to have a little debate off screen here. Do we go ahead with the contest or do we not? And we thought, of course, we're going to go ahead with it. It's just silly. Why would we do that to you guys? So we've got 4 feedbacks in, and we're going to start it off with an email from Kerry Johnson. And I'll lead us off here. He says, my favorite thing about Legends of Tomorrow is that the cast is so talented and their chemistry is so good that I could have a good time sitting around watching them do almost anything. My least favorite thing about Legends is that the writers-directors seem to take that approach to the show by not giving them a whole lot to do, which can be disappointing. My absolute favorite part of this episode was Sarah and Mick talking about being the last of the originals. Then she grabbed the picture of Stein and the legends in the Old West, and it was just a reminder of all the history and epic moments that have crammed into this special show. Just thinking about that makes me laugh and cry just a bit. We're right there with you, Carrie. Everything you just said, all 3 points, exactly with you on that one. It was also great to see the team sitting around the table playing Ray's cards to save the timeline. By the way, DC, when are you going to start taking advantage of the merch opportunities with this show? I mean, who doesn't want a Baby Dominator, a Bebo action bear with Kung Fu grip, a bottle of Captain Dewey rum, the full collection of Rebecca Silver's romance novels, a Leonard Snart cold weather coat that smells of sandalwood, a full collection of hermetically sealed life-size Ava Sharp action figures, or Ray's cards to save the timeline?
Amen.
Amen to everything but one item on that list. But you know what I mean. That's a fantastic collection of other things. A Baby Dominator? Yeah. So cool. And the romance novel is definitely my top of the list. I want one of those. But this game looks like it's a lot of fun. I know, he goes on. Those character moments I mentioned earlier are what this show does best. On the flip side, here we are heading into the finale and it can't be ignored. There seems to be an incredible lack of momentum because, beyond the moments that took place on the Waverider, I was wholly uninterested in the Neron and Konstantyn storyline, as well as the Gary and his pod people storyline. Don't get me wrong, there were some fun moments, like watching Gary hypnotize the Bureau and Neron making out with the fairy godmother, but there's a problem when the machinations of the big bad villain on your show are not terribly compelling. In many ways, it reminds me of the problem the show has had with the majority of its villains, including Vandal Savage and Mollis. The characters were not charismatic and a true waste of the actors portraying them. Yeah, I'm just going to dive in that real quick. He's so right there, and this is what we've been talking about all season so far. Yeah. No solid villain arc. Nothing for us to grab onto and wonder about or be worried about. Except to what they came to just now. It's just an entire season, and we haven't known what the heck is going on.
I know. I kind of agree. I mean, I actually really did like the Ray and Constantine storyline, and so I sort of felt like in some of those moments we were getting a little bit more, and that we were with them to keep continually saying that Ray is, quote, gone. I'm feeling that Neron is a little bit more menacing, but not nearly to the level that I feel like he should have been.
Yeah, exactly. Because there hasn't been enough time invested to work on his story, because he only came in halfway through a short season. I would have to say my favorite season and favorite villain was the trio of Damien Dark, Eobard Thawne, and Malcolm Merlin. That was fun.
Yes.
That was good. It was an awesome season with those guys.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. The Legion of Doom was the best.
All right. So he continues. The only legend villains that were great were Rip when he was evil and when Mick was Kronos. Oh my God. I totally forgot about that in season 1. Mick as Kronos.
That was so good.
Wow. Yeah. And I preferred Rip as evil Rip by far, for sure. The show is obviously trying to go that well once again by giving it's a villain with a familiar face. While Brandon Routh could certainly play against type as a villain, I think we have demon fatigue after dealing with Mollis last season. So true.
I know.
I expect we'll see Neron get sent to hell. Ray may have to sacrifice himself to make that happen, and I think Konstantyn will remain in hell to stay with Ray, meaning we'll lose those two characters for next season. That ending, in my opinion, will allow Legends to get away from the mystical, magical, and demon element and focus on more time travel matters, which they can do well. Carrie, you are singing my song. Definitely. Anyway, I hope I don't sound like I'm down on the show, because I'm not. I just think they can do better. I give this episode 7 Gary nipples out of 10, and that rating essentially has everything to do with Mick and Sarah and the Stuck in the Ice Waverider storyline. See you guys next week. Man, he is right in tune with me, with everything I said.
Yeah, yes.
Yes. We are peas in a pod this week there, Carrie. Thanks for that awesome email. All right, next up is one from Full Quiver. Jeff Childs. What's he have to say?
He says, it is fun to see Brandon Routh play evil. He also played an evil X in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. He was also blonde in that movie. Oh, well, that's interesting. To watch that. Yeah. I love Constantine. Matt Ryan is amazing in the role, but after doing the Constantine rewatch with Harley, I realized how much they've had to neuter him for the CW.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I unfortunately am also realizing that same thing.
His magic is different. It's a way different style of magic on this show.
It is, yeah. I am hoping for some creepy Constantine with him in Hell and maybe even a resolution to the Astra storyline. Hopefully, Hell will be scarier than IKEA. I don't know. IKEA can be pretty scary, man. All right. It would be a fun nod to those in the audience who like Bebo less than I have to have him show up in Hell tormenting people.
Oh,
that would be actually kind of funny. I love, if only for as long as it's only for 2 seconds. I love Zari and Nate's characters, but I hate that everyone has to hook up. One thing I really like about the Avenger movies was that Black Widow and Hawkeye could be best friends without any romantic attachment. I know stuff like that is rare even in real life, but it could be fun and different for them to explore a different dynamic. Happy 75th episode, full quiver.
Well, thank you for that. That's our first happy 75th kind of wish. Well wish. Thank you. That's fun.
Thanks.
Yeah. You know what? Despite I hate having the word Bebo even mentioned. You know what would satisfy me is if he did show up only for a few seconds or a few moments, and whether it's Ray or Constantine or one of the demons ends up pushing him over the edge into a pit of lava and he burns up once and for all. That would be a satisfying end to that.
Yes, that would be awesome. They could burn them was it in where they melted him? Was that a Flash episode where they melted Bebo dolls?
They melted him, and Mick also burned him with his heat gun too at one Viking episode.
True.
Yeah, so
that's true.
But yeah.
Well, there we go.
No, cool. Good to hear from you there, Full Quiver. It's that's a cool name. But yeah,
I do like his name. It's very cool, and he had some good points too.
Definitely. Next up is our friend Jeff X-Force11 with a voicemail. Let's see what he says.
Hello, legends. This is Jeff, X-Force11, leaving my feedback. Things I enjoyed about this episode. I enjoyed getting to see Nora kind of learn the ropes of what it's like to be on the other side there in the time agency. And I love the switcheroo fake out they pulled in order to get close to Gary. And I really thought it was, kind of a cool little thing. I'm still not too hot on Mona. I don't think she's the best character that we have for Legends, but I was kind of grossed out by the eyeball there, Gary. That was gross. I thought it was neat how the team on the Waverider kind of used Ray's cards to save the timeline to figure out how to save themselves, and thought that was neat. So it was a good episode in that way. I liked it a little bit better than last week's, I think, but I'm looking forward to seeing what's coming next. All right, X-Force11 out.
Yes, it was a little bit gross. I wonder how many people were in gross out shock from that moment when he rips open his shirt. Wow.
I know. I was like, what is happening?
The show just went there.
Yeah.
Too funny. Awesome, Jeff. Well, thanks for sending in your voicemail as always. And last up is an email from Patty Spivot this time, because I think she was out and about and couldn't send in a voicemail. So how about you take it, Harley? You read this one.
Sure. All right. She says, okay, so I'm not even going to discuss the nipple eyeball. That was pretty much a nightmare for me, and I'm never going to be the same. Just ew. Yes. Though I did like the magic spell Gary, all suave and confident and still funny. True. Mm-hmm. Question 1. What is Mona? Konane was full Kope. She got cut and was a changer for a while, but now she's 2 beings in 1. It's changed a few times. Is that a writing thing or an evolution of the magic in her? I am not the only one that picked up on that.
Nope. I don't know if we answered that well enough or not. I tried to give a couple theories about what it could be. It could be evolution of starting off as 1 and being split into 2. Who knows?
Who knows? Question 2. She's right in line with me.
It looks like it.
Mick giving the order to fire on Ray. If they ever get Ray back, I hope he understands why Mick made that call. Also, why did Sarah hesitate? Who do you guys think was right? Well, we discussed this at length.
Yeah, but she brings a different angle to it here. Does Ray know Mick said fire?
Does Ray know because Neron's in control?
Yeah, so does Ray know? And if he does, how is he going to face Mick about it? Or will Mick feel bad about it? I don't know. Are they going to face each other? Are they going to talk about that? That's an interesting angle because them two have kind of had a friendship develop. So curious.
Yeah.
Now,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And now Sarah hesitated. We didn't really talk about why did she hesitate.
Because I think she was kind of with Nate on Nate's side saying, maybe there's still a way because she's always kind of been never leave anyone behind kind of person, and she's the captain and she's trying to take care of the team and she's known Ray for a very long time. I mean, I don't think she wanted to pull the trigger and I'm not convinced she was willing to make that tough call. Maybe she would have. We'll never know because Mick made it for her. So.
Yeah, that's true. We might not know. Interesting. I mean, that was a test for her as leader of the team. Can she make the tough calls?
Yeah. And she did hesitate.
Yeah. All right.
But, all right. So she continues. I didn't really feel worried about them buried in the avalanche. I didn't get a real sense that they were in a lot of danger. So I'm glad that part didn't take too long.
I love that part.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, like we said, it's like, I was worried, but then it's like, they have to get out of it kind of deal. Like, you know what I mean? So, mixed emotions on that. But I'm looking forward to the next couple of episodes more than I have any of the others this season. They're doing a nice job of building things up to the end, and I can't really guess how they're going to beat Neron. They have to save Ray.
Yes, they have to save Ray. That's really all there is to it.
I know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree with her there that it's just suddenly in the last couple episodes, they finally ramped it up. There's suddenly a crescendo happening and stuff is going down. And you feel it. Now, this should have been the whole season. It's a shame.
I agree. I wish they had built this momentum up 6 episodes ago instead of now.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. Well,
anyway.
Good thoughts, Patty, and good questions. Hopefully we gave you enough answers to that. And thanks to all 4 of you for feedback this week. It's always fun to hear from our fans. We want to hear your guys' angles and thoughts of things.
Yes. Yay. I know. I'm glad we got a few people that were able to get us more feedback on short notice. So thank you.
Exactly.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to tomorrowslegends@gmail.com. That's spelled with 1 R. You can also reach us on Twitter @tomorrowslegends, also with 1 R. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/tomorrowslegends and become part of the community. Tomorrow's Legends.
All right, Harley, that wraps us up for this episode. You were saying we've got 2 left, right?
I know. We've only got 2 left. I'm sad.
Well, what's the next one called? Do we have a title?
We do have a title. The next week's episode is Terms of Service. And I've seen the trailer, so I won't say anything else.
Okay. That's ominous. That could mean something to do with the Time Bureau, or it could mean service on the Waverider. I don't know. Interesting.
I don't know. We'll see where they go with it.
2 more left. Well, as we're signing off, we're going to get to our live streaming prize draw. Hopefully we get it all working, guys. By the time you're listening to this, it should be all done and over with. Yes. So let us know how it turned out. If the video feed worked and you guys could hear us clearly, all that, just give us some feedback on the Facebook page. We'd love to know.
Yeah, and it was sounds like it would be super fun.
Yeah, I had fun. It was cool. I'm not used to being on camera, but it was interesting. We'll see how it goes. And if you guys really want us to do a full live episode, also comment and let us know that as well. We'll do that.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
All right. Well, until next week, guys, this is The Flash signing off.
And this is Harley Quinn. I'm out.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network.